Hello and welcome back to the Formula 1 chat. Today we're going to be discussing the 2022 F1 regulations. Now you may think that is a little bit weird considering we're 18 months on, but it's more of a look back, see whether they've achieved what they set out to achieve when they made the regulations and whether we actually have better racing now than what we had in 2021. So take your minds back to 18 months ago, the new regulation cars came out and there was a lot of excitement, wasn't there? The cars looked very different to how they used to look, of course, a lot bulkier. Some teams opted for no side pods, for example, which was quite the shock. And yeah, there was a general air of optimism that these cars may be able to race closer, as was promised, as part of the regulations, wasn't it? The new aerodynamic regulations were supposed to get closer racing. However, hasn't really panned out that way.
No, the main thing you've got, obviously it's on track as well, but off track is that some teams, i.e. Red Bull, dealt with the new regulations a lot better than other teams. Yeah. Red Bull have waltzed it. Ferrari's proved a challenge at times. Mercedes, Aston Martin coming this season. We've seen some teams completely ruin their cars. McLaren had an absolute howler.
Yeah, I think the thing is, it's brought the grid. So, when they were set in 2020, supposed to be coming in for 2021, the racing was very far apart. Mercedes had a massive dominance over the sport.
Yeah.
But when we got to 2021, it was very close actually between the field, not only just the field spread, but also the top two teams, of course. I think a lot of people are annoyed because if we'd stuck with that, would we now be looking at a much closer championship fight for the last 2 years? Would Max versus Lewis have gone over into the next?
This is the interesting thing because for me, you look at 2022 and in my opinion, I don't think the fact that Max World Championship falls on the new regulations. Ferrari got it wrong.
Well, Ferrari didn't. They smashed it on the regs.
No, it would have been a very, very close fight if they car could have lasted a race.
Yeah.
The amount of times Charles Leclerc was in a brilliant position to win.
It would have been for the first half of the season, but Red Bull won 15 Grand Prix that year. That doesn't happen just because Ferrari are incompetent. Red Bull were very, very good last year.
By that point, they'd gone. By that point, the championship was gone, so they didn't really care.
Second half of the season, yeah. It's not exactly incorrect, but it's interesting because as much as the goal of the regulations, their main goal, which we saw panted around so many times, is closer racing. And we've not seen that at all. If anything, it's very, very difficult now to pull off a move. The cars are way too big to actually make any overtakes. The only time we see overtakes is when they blast past someone in the DRS. So we don't actually see any fighting at the moment. I can't, we saw some battling in the last Grand Prix, of course, at Canada. Spain, we saw some battling.
But this is my question. Isn't it the whole point of DRS is that it is the thing you get to make
We shouldn't need it. We shouldn't need DRS.
Why was it ever put in?
It's brought in because dirty air. And that would obviously give the driver in front an advantage coming out of the corner, so they may aim to catch that advantage up. But at the moment, it just seems that the dirty air is just so bad. The only overtaking opportunity is the DRS, but then the DRS is so strong, drivers just blast past unchallenged. So it's a bit...
Why don't they balance each other out then? Because surely if it was DRS was brought in to balance out the dirty air, why has that stopped happening?
I don't know. But the dirty air is getting stronger anyway from what it was in 2020. So the cars just don't follow closely at all.
It's just really weird.
Why is it weird?
I don't really know. It's just got... Because I thought in 2022, I thought it seemed to have worked, and then we've kind of gone to this year. And
the regulations to a certain extent did work, but due to safety concerns, they had to edit a lot of the car, didn't they? If we look at the racing for the first half of the 2022 season, they were all very close. However, the porpoising was a problem, and it's annoying because they had solved the regulations, but we can't have drivers breaking vertebrae because they're bumping up and down.
That's the interesting thing then, and it falls back to what I said at the start, is that obviously some teams dealt with that better than others. Red Bull still managed to be very, very quick while not porpoising too much, whereas Mercedes is like a bloody bouncy castle.
Yeah, do you think there's an element there that could be we could start to regulate it, F1 a bit more. And no, obviously people love to have this design race, the fact that engineering is so key in Formula 1.
Yeah.
But by mandating certain areas of the car, do we just create a little bit more close racing? And actually the only difference... The problem is, where do you draw the line? Because if you start to mandate parts, it's hard to mandate some but not others. Obviously, there are already mandated parts. But if you start to go, well, everyone's got to have the same floor, so that everyone comes for all the same, and then we know they can race closely. But then if you do that, then that takes away a massive part of why Red Bull have been so strong this year.
Yeah.
So then you pretty much create a spec series. So it's hard to balance out, because I want to see closer racing, but I don't want to see a spec series. Because I think the developmental side and the engineering side of Formula 1 is what makes F1 so special. It's something we don't tend to see in other series, like IndyCar, for example, which is a spec series.
Yeah, I think it is so interesting how a team that dominated for nearly a decade, if not more, to get it so wrong. How can one of the best teams in Formula 1, the best team of the last decade in Formula 1, get it so wrong? And that's the thing, yes, the regs were brought in, but surely a team like Mercedes should have been able to react better to that.
Well, it tends to be because the regulations are designed to stop the best team. And I know, obviously, Lewis Hamilton fans and Mercedes fans in general will go, oh, they've targeted us. That's what they've done with every single dominant team ever. If you look at the dominant Red Bull, if anything, Merck got lucky that it lasted as long as they did. Because when else have we seen a 7-8 year dominant period other than Ferrari, of course? So those two teams got very fortunate in that. Red Bull only had 4 years, and then they brought in new regulations.
Yeah.
So Mercedes were quite fortunate that they did get such a prolonged period of time where they were the best team.
I mean, even now, we've got 2026.
Yeah, well, Red Bull, again, know that they were only going to get 5 years dominance, and then potentially it's all over again. So it's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, I do think there is a hope that other teams will get close to Red Bull right now. Aston Martin brought upgrades to Canada. They were much, much closer, and they've got more upgrades coming to
this is
Australia.
my thing. I think, yes, this season has started. It's been an absolute waltz for Red Bull. And although it might not change the championship picture, I think towards the end of the season, we can see better racing. Look at the end of last season. George Russell won the Grand Prix.
I think Aston Martin will get closer, because Aston Martin have a huge advantage right now in the development race.
Yeah.
Because last season was so bad. Because last season they finished so low in the championship compared to the teams they're fighting now, they got so much more winter time, they got so much more CFD allowance. So there's every chance that they could exploit that and be able to actually be very competitive.
Could we see the same next year? Could another team that are quite low down the order bounce back?
The difference is Aston Martin were able to go and sign some very key members of other teams. I believe Dan Fellows went there from Red Bull, which was Newey's right-hand man.
What a sign that was.
Exactly.
You basically got the best apart from Adrian Newey. The man who literally learned how to do everything under Adrian Newey.
It doesn't. The one thing he lacks is that Newey brain.
Well, yeah, because you can't. There's no brain that works. There's no brain in the world.
It's like Newey can see the air coming off the car.
Yeah.
Without needing a wind tunnel, but yeah, I think no team can replicate that success. No team has the money Aston Martin has.
Yeah.
The only one I would say is that when Audi join in 2026, I think they will be very strong competitors. That's why 2026 I'm excited for, because I think Red Bull will be strong again. I think Merck will still be up there. I think Ferrari should be close. I think Aston will be up there, and I think Audi will be up there. Then that's not even thinking about the McLaren and Alpine teams, which are both fairly strong right now. Those could both become outside those top 5 teams. But there's every chance someone like a Red Bull or Mercedes drops. That's not unheard of. And the same goes for Ferrari, who are all over the shop at the moment.
I mean, also you said how new regs change order. You mentioned they have Audi, but new teams coming in could cause a shake-up.
Do you think we'll see any new teams?
I don't know.
Audi aren't really a new team. They're just going to take over Alfa Romeo and keep the same personnel. Yeah, they'll probably replace drivers to suit Audi, so some German drivers. But yeah, I don't know. Don't know if they'll really kick on. Who else have you got? Well, there's Andretti have been in talk. They've constantly mentioned how they want to be in F1, but
you never know.
They don't have the money. The £600 million buy-in's ridiculous. It's going to take someone like a Toyota. I mean, Andretti probably could afford it. They've got money, but is the gamble worth it? Can they get to the top of F1? Possibly
Who
not.
knows?
It's very difficult, of course. Look at Haas. They came in 2016. And in 7 years, they've not really done a lot. I wouldn't say that the 7 years have benefited Haas.
No, they haven't, but they wasted 2 of them on Rich Energy. One of them on Mazepin. That's 3 years there, 7 gone already because they made stupid decisions.
Well, if anything, Rich Energy gave him an iconic livery. But I mean, I couldn't tell you right now what a Haas car looks like.
Why?
I presume they make cars.
Oh, like the actual company?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, I thought you meant like
so the exposure's been pointless, hasn't it? So I think Andretti will look at that and go...
What is a Haas?
That's what I'm saying.
What is a Haas?
Is it just a hearse, but they cut a couple of letters out? Gunter Steiner comes takes your nan away. That's not what hearses do.
I want that, actually, yeah.
No, you wouldn't. Imagine your nan's died and Gunter Steiner turns up to take her to the funeral. I'd like to meet Gunter Steiner, but on a happier day. But... yeah, I think the problem for Andretti is there's not a guaranteed return on investment. I think we're more likely to see an established manufacturer, someone like a Porsche or a Toyota. For me, it's really crucial we get another team for a bit more of a shake-up to Formula 1. But maybe Audi can be that shake-up. Maybe Aston having more resources to pumped into them can be that shake-up.
Lance Stroll.
And if they do sign a second driver... yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see.
There's loads of variables. Like Lewis Hamilton won't be in F1 forever. Max Verstappen won't be in F1 forever. Fernando Alonso will probably be in F1 forever. But who knows? He might stop one day.
I mean, say Max won't be in F1 forever. Well, obviously that's not true. That's true.
Yeah, so
sorry.
99-year-old Max Verstappen wheeling it around.
He is more than likely going to be in that Red Bull for at least another 10 years. Or in F1.
Well, if he gets bored...
he might. He has said he's not. I'll still go somewhere else, do something else for a bit. But it's going to be interesting. In terms of obviously new regulations, we probably won't see any aero regs now for a while. I can't imagine we'll see another regulation change until 2032. 2030 maybe at a push. But 2026 will of course be the engine. We know that's going to be big.
I mean, Red Bull literally built their own engine this year. It works.
My earliest prediction will be that the Mercedes engine will likely be the best because they know what they're doing with engines.
I mean,
with Red Bull,
aerodynamics. Engine.
Yeah, aerodynamics is very much Adrian Newey's strong point. Yeah. And engine's not really been a big thing for Red Bull. Red Bull never made an engine.
That's the dynamic we want to see in F1. One team's got the best power, one team's got the best aero, and then Ferrari have got no durability.
Do you think that there's a concern for Red Bull that Ford don't bring what they need? Because Ford have made an F1 engine, or at least not for 40 years.
I know what a Ford is.
Okay, but that doesn't mean they're going to bring an F1.
I see your point. You're not going to stick a Ford Fiesta engine in there.
Well, exactly. Renault can make road cars. Doesn't mean their Alpine doesn't
blow up.
Stop blowing up. But
some of those Renaults do just implode.
Well, Renault do just implode.
So many.
But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Ferrari, of course, will likely be strong as well. We know their engine was decently good.
I think there will be competition towards the end of this season and onwards in Formula 1.
Hopefully, but in terms of answering the question, well, the regulation changes have failed. The new regulations introduced in 2022 were designed to bring closer racing, and I cannot say that closer racing has been brought. It just hasn't. Every round this season, there's not really been... you can't really follow in the wake of other cars. And
midfield fight's been interesting.
It has, but the fact that Alex Albon in a Williams...
That Williams isn't bad.
Could hold off much quicker cars for a what?
We don't know the relative pace at Williams yet.
For so long. I know, but it just seems crazy that... because they were sat that close and they couldn't even make a move.
Yeah, that's Alex Albon.
With 2 very long straights.
That's Alex Albon. That's what he does.
For me...
You met him?
No. But for me... Alex Albon shouldn't be able to hold off drivers like... No one should. No one should be able to just sit there going, because he was...
He should be.
No, but he didn't have to defend at all.
He did.
No, he didn't. He was sat comfortably ahead of him, about 7/10 ahead of him, and Ocon couldn't get close to him. Ocon couldn't get close enough to make an overtake.
For it.
Or just smashed into it.
No.
You can't get close enough, is what I'm saying.
I think he could have.
No. You couldn't. That's a fact.
He's talking about his 2 very long straights and DRS being so powerful, then why didn't he get him?
Because of the dirty air. That's what I'm saying. They can't follow cars. So Ocon couldn't get close enough to him. And also, it's not every team's DRS as well. I thought it's just Red Bulls.
Okay, there you go then. That's not...
No,
that's
but
the DRS problem then, rather than...
No, it's the dirty air. They cannot follow cars, as we keep seeing.
Yeah, but then how do you take a corner without creating any dirty air?
Well, you can limit it, obviously. But then that's the problem. That weighing up...
cycle back to where you were at the start.
That weighing up of spec series versus design.
It's never going to be a perfect situation, ever.
Well, you could get you, but we don't want perfect. We just want racing. We just want some close racing, which we're not seeing enough. Because I would say these 8 races so far, not one of them has had a proper fight anywhere in the field.
Oh no!
There haven't. There's not been. There's not been any memorable
I think
close
the
battle.
last 3 races have been good. Canada, Monaco, and Spain.
Okay, give me one memorable close battle.
The whole midfield.
But that's not.
Yeah,
What, in Canada?
Yeah.
When they're in a train when no one made an overtake for
Bottas,
20,
Norris were
30
fighting
laps.
each other.
There's not been a
Ocon,
close
Stroll
battle.
got someone on the line on the last lap, but no one saw that because everyone was shot on
There's
TV.
no overtaking at the moment.
Alright.
They can't follow in the dirty air, and that's a massive failure on the regulations. They haven't they've not done what they intended to do. And they need to make the cars smaller because they don't fit. Monaco, they just generally areas of the track they cannot get side by side.
That's the problem. They've got so many different things to fix. They can't fix them all.
Well, they've got regulations they can introduce.
Yeah, it's like every year, and at that point, then we cycle back to another problem. We've got regulations every year. Oh,
I
that's
don't
so
necessarily
boring.
think that's a negative though. The F1 team should be able to. If at the start of the season you go, the start of next season we're doing this, they've got a whole year to do that. Just change an element on their car. That makes infinitely more sense to me than having a race change every.
But what if you know that that's going to
years,
change in 2 years' time?
What do you mean?
Well, if you've got, so say you go, oh, in a year's time this is going to change, but then you're also going to go, oh, well, in 3 years' time we're going to get rid of that again.
But that doesn't matter if the regulation states it. I don't know. We've turned into waffle again. But yeah, I think I don't really know how it's going to pan out. FIA need to get it right though when they introduce more regulations because they didn't last time. They just didn't get it right, and we're now left with a bit of a frustratingly exciting racing at the moment. It's just not been a great season, I wouldn't say.
No.
But hopefully we see some closer racing soon. Hopefully the FIA get it right with the next set of regulations. That's all from us today. Hopefully you have enjoyed this video, and if you have, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. If you've got any thoughts on the topic discussed in today's video, then keep the conversation going down in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you guys on this particular topic. Do you think the regulations have failed? And how do you think the FIA solved? Do we want to hear from you guys? But that's all from us today. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.